Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining, giving everybody a second to get situated, join the call. Looks like we have a great little turnout. Let's see. Okay, I'll give it a couple more minutes. In the meantime, I'm going to drop a little prompt in the chat. I'd love to hear where everybody is joining from. Give me 1 second. Okay, still getting some people. Okay, awesome. Let's give it one more minute.
I'll go.
See.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, good morning.
Hey.
Afternoon. I know we have a couple of different time zones, so wherever you are, I hope it's a good time. Okay, I think I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Um, okay, let's do this. So, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining the 2026 BMO Fellowship Alumni Panel. My name is Maria Pamela, and I'm an associate search manager here at the Watson Institute team. Joining us, we have two of our awesome panelists that I'll be introducing a little bit further down the line, but we also have some other Watson Institute colleagues that are joining. So, shout out to them as well. And as you're coming in, please feel free to tell us where you're joining. Please feel free to keep the chat activated and we'll do our best. We will be going through some programmatic elements. Then we're going to go into the panel portion and then we're going to have a Q&A. So let's get started. So, about the Watson Institute. Watson Institute is a place where impact-driven entrepreneurs and leaders can find their community, discover their calling, and accelerate their careers. What does this really mean? Ultimately, what we do at Watson is we power fully funded, transformative fellowships for highly promising, impact-driven entrepreneurs in partnership with leading corporations, foundations, to provide comprehensive support and training to help fellows make a meaningful impact in the communities that they serve, as well as provide access to the global network that is the Watson Institute community. Now, more specifically about the BMO 2026 Fellowship. Let's give it a second. Oh, what is a Zoom meeting without a couple technical glitches? Bear with us. Okay, we got the about. Okay, about the fellowship. Awesome. So, a little bit more about the BMO Fellowship. It's fully funded. It's a 16-week virtual fellowship, ultimately designed to empower entrepreneurs and small business leaders who are building solutions to strengthen economic resilience and expanding opportunity across BMO's national footprint. The primary focus areas for this fellowship are three. It's bringing financial formal services to underbanked communities and emerging markets, which basically means you're providing solutions that give underbanked communities and emerging markets access to formal financial services, tools, and literacy that they need to thrive. Then we have supporting small businesses, which are solutions that support and enhance the small business ecosystem, and expanding home ownership opportunities, where it's you're providing solutions that create pathway to home ownership for families and individuals who have been locked out of wealth building, all under the umbrella of building and expanding opportunity and building towards economic resilience. As for the fellowship itself, let's go back for a second. Thank you, Sandra. We are looking for applicants who are located in and creating impact in Chicago, Denver, San Francisco, and LA. And I will say, if you are adjacent to Chicago, ultimately we want to make sure that the impact you're creating is reaching these four cities. And as for the deadline, and I will be saying this multiple times, so hang in tight. It is July 12th, but we encourage you to apply as soon as possible, as soon as you feel ready to apply, right? We don't have to rush you, but we do accept applications in priority order and we do review on a rolling basis. So the sooner you apply and the sooner that you are on our radar, the better. Okay, some key dates and details. So the program is 16 weeks from August 25th to December 15th. The first 2 weeks are a little bit more time intensive. It's what we have the immersive, and not to be redundant, but we're immersing you in all things Watson, BMO Fellowship, and ultimately getting you started. So the first 2 weeks, it'll be a little bit more time commitment heavy from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And you can see the weeks here where we will require you to show up for a little bit more days. And then ultimately, at the end of the fellowship, we have the summit. And the summit is the final virtual event. And I'm not sure if I mentioned this, so apologies. The whole fellowship will be virtual. So this is the final virtual event where a select group of selected fellows will be invited to pitch at the summit. And the selection will be based on quality of submissions, engagement throughout the program, geographic representation. And while it is pitch focused, I do want to emphasize that the summit is not a pitch competition. It really is a celebration, and it's a space to showcase the work, build awareness around, fellows' missions, create meaningful connections, maybe new ones, maybe, and then continue growing both professionally and personally. And ultimately, it's just a great moment to celebrate the journey. We encourage everyone to invite their family, friends, mentors, colleagues. And as the Watson Institute, we also get very excited about inviting our network as well. Okay. Time commitment. So, when we're looking at potential fellows, not only are we looking at, are you in the right area, in the right work area that the BMO Fellowship wants to support? Are you at the stage where the programming will benefit you? It's do you have the time to commit to the 16-week fellowship? And we are very transparent. It is very structured, but it does ultimately take some time. So I did want to get into this. So once the immersive concludes, which is those first 2 weeks where we have a little bit more time commitment requirements, we move into the weekly sessions, which are Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Mountain Time. And the weekly time commitment is cushioned to about to 8 to 10 hours per week to really, excuse me, to realistically give you a sense of what you'd be signing up for. And this includes weekly sessions, optional meetings, Basecamp implementations, and I'll get into Basecamps in a second, as well as summit preparations. Okay, base camps. So another unique and very impactful part of the program is the base camp experience. Base camps are workshops that you design and host within your local communities. And you do have a lot of flexibility in how you structure these. They can include guest speakers, there could be networking sessions, panels, hands-on activities, or anything that ultimately aligns with your mission and goals. But as the requirements, we have a couple of things to give you a sense of structure and for you to be able to successfully launch this base camp. So each one has to be at least 5 hours in total. You have to include at least 30 participants. But really, the goal is to create a meaningful space for community engagement, collaboration, and feedback to support you. The team, you will be getting a stipend along with guidance from the team and templates to help with planning and execution. But beyond the event itself, it's just a great opportunity to strengthen your community presence, build partnerships, and gather insights that can directly inform you of your venture and sort of help you define next steps. Okay. The application process. If you have already applied, fret not. This is just more for everyone who hasn't applied or is still kind of debating it. Once you complete the application online, it should take about 30 minutes to fill out. And once again, I'm going to say it, the priority deadline is July 12th. But again, we encourage you to submit as soon as possible as we are accepting on rolling basis after the deadline as well. Qualified applicants will be invited for interviews for a 20-minute session and a one-on-one. The interview is ultimately a way for us to dive deeper into the fellows' motivations for pursuing the fellowship and gain a better understanding of where you're at with your venture and if ultimately this fellowship sounds like a right fit for you. Once we move into acceptance and enrollment, acceptance notifications will be sent out also on a rolling basis. I will say because we are on May 20th and that deadline is July 12th, we are still a little bit earlier on in that process, but once we do have those notifications, we start rolling them out. As soon as that's sent out, we really expect potential fellows to confirm to secure their spot. And then again, the program begins August 25th. And now just some tips to keep in mind when you're applying. One recommendation would be to pay particular attention to clearly demonstrating program fit. So that includes your motivation for joining, passion for impact, and how your work aligns with the fellowship's goals and eligibility requirements. It's also super helpful to highlight your venture's current stage, traction, and impact while keeping responses clear and concise. And also, we also encourage, there's a section on the application to provide any external links. So any external links or supporting materials that can help showcase the work that you've been doing, that gives us a stronger understanding of your vision and ultimately your vision. And lastly, I just want to say the application is a way for you to help us understand where you are today and how this fellowship would help support your next stage of growth. And once again, I think I'm 3 for 3 now. Apply early. Don't wait until that deadline. And if you have any questions prior to, I will be providing my email at the end of this if there's any sort of hesitations before you do feel comfortable in applying. Okay, the BMO Fellowship Alumni. As we start to move into the panel portion of today, we wanted to share some stats that embody the cumulative impact of the BMO alumni so far. We've supported 37 fellows. There's been about over 1,500 people impacted. You can see the capital raise has been 11.9 million. And also the total amount of small businesses impacted by BMO Fellows has been over 500. So again, this is just to give you a sense. Oh, and jobs created over 100 as well. I'm sure you can see it there. But this is just to give you a sense of, what's been going on, what the BMO alumni are all about, and the impact that they've made to this day. And part of the community that you'd be joining, part of the community impact. And now I have the pleasure of introducing our alumni panel speakers, 2025 BMO Fellows, Anna and Shante. So let's just move into the next one. Awesome. I will be letting them both introduce themselves to give you a sense of what they've been working on. They both participated in the fellowship last recruitment cycle, and Shantae works for the Halo Food Project. She's out of California, and Anna as well. She's out of California, and she works for Panos Concrete. I will let you take it away, Shantae. Give us a little bit of an intro. Oh, you're muted.
There we
There,
go.
there we go.
Good morning, everyone. I apologize now. If I go out, just let me know and I will try to start again where I am. But I just first want to shout out Chicago and California because they are in the house today. So shout out to you. I'm Shantae Walker, the founder and CEO of the Niles Foundation, who created the Halo Food Project, which is one of, I'm going to say, California and maybe in the nation's first zero emissions mobile retail grocery store. Yes, clean tech, farm direct retail food. And as you guys can see my background, I look like I'm in a vehicle. It's because I'm still working. But what I want to share most about is that last year I had the pleasure of connecting with BMO, and it has been such an incredible ride for me. One heck of a commitment. But currently, right now, we're doing so much great work for the Halo Food Project. We're changing offices and we're growing. We've added a brand new bright job, which I'm in right now, which is fully electric, which we do our farm produce pickup. We're in Irvine right now. When we travel all across the state, we won $100,000 to grab this vehicle. We've hired about 5 to 6 employees. We also have a couple of fellows that we're interviewing for it. And what the Halo Food Project does is it supplies communities that are underserved, vulnerable, or low income with farm direct produce, sustainable products that are from BIPOC communities, that are from women, from the LGBTQ community, that are from small farmers and businesses who can't really get their produce into major stores like your Whole Foods and or your Ralph's or Kroger's, but who wants to get their food in there anyway? So I'm just going to stop there, but it's very nice to meet all of you guys, and I'm so happy to be here to share this with you guys.
Thank you so much, Shantae. That was a great intro, and there's definitely there's some excitement in the chat. Okay, let's get over to Anna.
Hi everyone. My name is Anna Pano, and I am part of the Panos Concrete Construction team. And before I get started, I wanted to say that it was always amazing hearing all the work that Shantae is doing in SoCal in the Los Angeles area, and it's really cool just to hear the work that they continue to do, especially the really in-depth like community work. So yeah, we're based in Fresno, California. I think I did see in the chat also joining us from Fresno, and we serve pretty much different parts of California, NorCal, the Central Valley, and Southern California. What we do is civil and site concrete construction, but our goal is not just to be like a traditional construction company. We have a focus also in mental health in the trades and also alternative use material in concrete. And it's been pretty neat in the ways that we've been able to implement that in our work. It hasn't been easy, but there's a huge issue right now with mental health, just like so many other sectors in the world. But in the construction industry, there is a high mental health rate with substance abuse, suicide, and some other things. And then when you intersect migration, and especially politically what's going on. Our goal is to provide not only a connection with resources, but also do events where we can do like Know Your Rights and also do family-centered events. And so we combine that as well as some of our projects. So I'm really proud to say that our last few projects and upcoming have been with other organizations that are doing also different models when it comes to affordable housing, and then also community work. And that's really where our passion is at, is the grassroots. So yeah, when I say construction, our goal is to obviously do our work, but do it in a different way because our industry really needs that in the way that we're building, but the way that we're also caring for one another in the trades. And so, yeah, I'm really happy to be here and share my experience with BMO.
Thank you. Thank you both so much. And definitely some more excitement in the chat. I'm excited to get into the questions, but it's been awesome to hear your stories and the intentionality behind your work and the very clear passion that shines through. So let's get into the first question. Can you start off by telling us what inspired you to apply to the BMO Fellowship? If you want to take it first, Anna or Shante, I kind of leave it up to either one of you.
Anna, what do you want to do? You want me to go first or do you want to go first?
Doesn't matter. If you like, I could go first.
Yeah, go for it, Anna.
Okay. Yeah, so what inspired me was when I first started the company, I wasn't able to really put my finger in like what like we were. And so like I said, I knew I didn't want to be like a traditional construction company. And with the different areas that I definitely knew I wanted to continue to grow on, and I needed a help and direction. The BMO program for me was the perfect fit, just because for me, especially the sustainability part for entrepreneurs, but also helping me understand like, okay, obviously there's like alternative use in the material that we're using as we're building, but also like the social aspects. So like the mental health part that I mentioned earlier. And how can I combine that? And really, is this the type of like business model that we want? Like, how is it like a nonprofit? How do we want to do this type of work? And so when I saw BMO, I saw that there was an opportunity for that, especially for that space that is like obviously, like I said, just very non-traditional models of doing your work and with that social impact and community. So yeah, I that really was what got me excited was like I felt like the places I was going to get assistance and help with my business, it helped, but I needed a space where I could be more creative and help me think outside the box and also be alongside a cohort, facilitators and instructors that are also doing their work very differently. And so that's what really got me really attracted to applying to the program.
Thank you so much, Anna.
And I'll share. Let me step back. I saw in the chat, people like, what about our city? So let me just say all the cities are in the house. Las Vegas, I hear you. So let me just shout that out. But I think one of the biggest reasons why I joined BMO was because I'm going to be honest, I needed help. Young founder, CEO, I'm still learning the ropes. We have the Halo Food Project is only one of our social enterprises. And there's a lot of wraparound thinking to like propel your business forward, and you don't have all the answers. You don't know what you don't know. And for me, I'm one of those persons that I need to know so I can be my best. I want to put my best foot forward. And so I learned through the BMO of through all the other CEOs and all the other entrepreneurs that everybody was going through very similar things just like mine. They were just being experienced in a very different way. And I think there's no more greater help than having um, support and advice and camaraderie than people who have done it. And we're talking about experts. We're talking about people who are successful. When BMO does it, they do it all the way and they do it right. And I am so grateful for going through it because it's taught me so much. A lot of my growth since last year has propelled because of the conversations, the transparency I had to be, the transparency from others, the constant asking of the same questions when you're trying to really figure out what your next step should be, when we're talking about funding, when we're talking about capacity, when we're talking about being overwhelmed, your challenges, your barriers. There's just so many layers, and no one person has all the answers. And BMO was a great platform for that because I needed answers. I needed help. I needed to see how other people were walking. And BMO did just that for me. Sometimes you have to be amongst people who are doing the same things that you're doing, and have gone through what you've gone. And it's not easy to just walk out on the street or even to be in your field and be able to connect. And I think the genuine connections that I was able to experience, I wanted, and I got that. And it was um the greatest experience because for me I really needed that. So it was really just being able to get the help that would help me and my business and help my business to be as strong as it can possibly be.
Wow, thank you both. Your answers have definitely made me feel so happy. And, I do think when it comes to like the fellowship experience and everything, that is something that is definitely spoken among fellows, the camaraderie that comes from being in a room full of like-minded people working towards goals. So I'm so glad that that's something that really got you there as well. Thank you both. That was very inspiring answers, very moving. Thank you. We can move on to the next one. Okay, I feel like we might have trickled into this one a little bit, so feel free to give it your own spin. But what was a key moment of growth, a takeaway that you still carry in the work that you do now?
I can go. I think once it's very similar to what I just said previously, and then also what Shantae was sharing, like that vulnerability and being in the correct or right spaces to be able to do that and being able to be guided or share ideas. But one thing for me that really has stuck with me was that before I got into BMO, I just didn't understand. I'm like, okay, how do I incorporate the mental health aspect and the community work that we really want to make sure that we're doing with construction workers and their families or those in the trades? And through VMO, it really reinforced that the work that we're doing, we definitely, for us personally, that's always going to be somehow in our line of work. So whether they're more like intimate, uh, private events, especially depending on like the topics, or if we're doing like a community event, it's totally doable, but you have to have like a very strategic plan to be able to do that. Just because obviously for us at this point, even our capacity, it's still limited. So being able to talk to some of the other cohort members, it was really good ideas that I had got like, hey, you may only be able to do this quarterly, or maybe it's just once a year, just because obviously where we're at right now, it's not like we can constantly be doing like the community events or any being doing that constantly. And so I think for me, that key moment of growth is like you can definitely do that type of work, but you just have to make sure that you're being very strategic on how you're doing that, and then also incorporating like the community partners and other organizations and other people in your own region that possibly may be doing that type of work as well. And so for us, that's how we've been actually navigating that part, is bringing in community partners and being able to help us on those different key issues that we want to make sure we're hitting with community.
Thank you so much, Anna.
Thank you, Anna, for sharing that. You know, I was thinking about this question, and even as you shared, Anna, like I feel like there's a lot of moments for different reasons, but the one of the moments that really stuck out to me was the base camp, and the reason that the base camp stuck out because you know, I'm sure a lot of us have done events and have planned, but you know, now you're planning with, you know, a certain standard, expectations, and, you know, certain things that you really want to see happen. And the greatest moment that I have is that I did it and I was successful. And after the event, I still have these growing connections from that base camp, not just from BMO, not from just Watson, but from all the people that were at the base camp. And what it taught me was that, you know, truly, it doesn't matter how challenging something is, it doesn't matter how hard something may seem, or even how easy. It's about the lasting impact on you, the one who has to rise to the occasion and show up. And one of those moments I take with me no matter where I go, because it reminds me that, like, you can get over this, you can do this, you're gonna do well. You know, I've always told myself affirmations, but it's different when you actually get to see your work being done, and it's continued to propel not only my perspective but everything that I've done since then, from the new goals that I have for the Halo Food Project, and then of course what's connected to that is the network. I take this BMO network wherever I go. I know that I have a host of connections and people that I can email and call if I need help, and that I'm not doing this alone. And I think that's one of the greatest things that I have taken with me, is that I'm never doing this alone, even when I feel like it.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you both so much for those answers. And, to Anna's point about, having that structure and taking those times, I think it's so important that the fellowship allows founders who are always on the go, go, go to really sit down and sort of reevaluate and take a step back and really be able to assess what's going on and ultimately take that pause because I truly admire the entrepreneurial spirit that lives through Watson, that lives through so many of you. And I just think whether it's through the base camp, whether it's through touching base with other cohort members, you really take that time to be intentional and to think about things and to lean on your program managers and preceptors, educators, mentors, networks to really put the time in and to really have the space to be creative. So I think that's awesome. And I think, that's something that's just very inspiring for me too. I'm a little gushing over a little of your answers, but yes, okay, great. Thank you so much. And then lastly, reeling it back to now, thinking about potential applicants, what advice would you give to potential applicants who are considering applying or have already applied for the BMO Fellowship?
I can take this one. Um, I'm going to say transparency is not about being transparent with others, it's about being transparent with yourself. So you really have to answer the hard questions, and you've got to be honest with yourself. You can't tell yourself that you're something if you're not. You have to actually really think about your commitment level, what you want to get out of it, your whys, the whys for everything that you do. That has to be thought of before you apply, because BMO is not like any other, or Watson, I should say. Watson is not like any other fellowship, period. Watson is a whole another beast. But what's important is that you're not going to do yourself any service by not really understanding why you are here. You have to understand what you want from it. You want to understand what you're going to commit, because it gets tough. I'm sitting in a vehicle right now because how I spend a lot of my BMO time. But the truth is I made time for it because I wanted to make sure that I was giving my business the best chance it could possibly get. So most importantly is you have to be honest with yourself, and you really have to answer those questions deeply if you're really looking for that. Unless you're not, and it's not, you're not going to get what you want to get out of it. It's just going to be you passing time and you're on autopilot. When you actually give the commitment and time that you do, that you should, it's like finding gold. It's like finding a city of gold.
Thank you so much, Shante. That's awesome.
Shantae, I love what you just said. And I think it's exactly that. It's being real with yourself in the areas that you're struggling with. But I go back to the same thing is like, if there's a vision that you have and you're very passionate about it in your application, and if this is the program that fits that and you want to explore that more, go for it. And I think this is the space for that. And I think I was looking at the website earlier, but there was Watson's philosophy. It says the entrepreneur grows, then the company grows. And so this space will really provide that. And as Shantae is saying, I would say make sure about the time commitment because you're going to be going through so many different topics, but it's definitely time intensive. And so it's definitely worth it. And so, yeah, I would definitely include maybe areas that you're struggling with at the moment. And then, because that's what I did, especially with really trying to understand my finances, some other team building. There were some different issues that we were having at the time. And so, yeah, the transparency part, I definitely agree with that. But yeah, just make sure that you have the time commitment to be able to participate just because you're hitting different topics and they will definitely help you out in whatever you're building or you're currently scaling on. And yeah, so just fill that out completely. Make sure you have the time commitment. And yeah, maybe some areas that you could see this program helping you with. I would say those would be a few suggestions for the application.
Awesome. Thank you both. Great advice. No notes, literally. I think that's great, both from the Shantae side of really self-reflection and also from the realistic standpoint of being able to participate in this. I think that was a great balance in answers. Thank you both so much. Okay, now I'd like to move into the question and answers portion. If you have any questions, like I mentioned earlier, I'm here and I can help out with some programmatic questions. And we have some other Watson Institute members. If you have some questions for the alumni, please feel free to either raise your hand and I'll call you out, or feel free to drop it in the chat. Does anybody have a question for anyone that they'd like to ask? Tiffany, go for it. Oh,
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
yes, yes.
Happy, awesome, sweet Wednesday, everyone. Tiffany from Cake Charming. I had a question for the wonderful ladies. Thank you guys in advance. As far as navigating a full position that I'm currently in, and being a single mom, what advice can you give as I'm also in correlation growing my business, my baking business? How would I be able to fully give commitment and not so much as how or like, with the time commitment, I do understand that you share the time and the day of time, mountain time and things like that. But how am I able to, truly commit to this? Because this seems like a amazing opportunity.
I can share. Um, I think one of the biggest things is looking at your capacity. Number one, understanding what your bottom line capacity is and understanding the commitment from Watson. The other part is having really great communication with Watson. I think that was one of the things that they were amazing on. As long as you got in front of your schedule, as long as you were in communication about what it is that you were doing, they're also that way of balance, right? Because they know you can't particularly make it or that you'll be there late. They're more than willing to support you as long as you provide that transparency in your schedules, your availability, and your capacity. But there are some things where you are at full capacity and some, it just may not work out. But I will say Watson has made it so easy to communicate and help you and support you through your schedule, because even in our cohort we had tons of people who were traveling constantly, mothers, you've had fathers,
Hmm.
there's just so many things. So I think that would my my suggestion is to really understand what your limit is or what your boundary of capacity is, and really understand what the Watson's commitment is, and kind of have those conversations. If you really want this, apply, have that interview, have those conversations all the way through with Watson, and I think that will support you also in trying to accomplish your business. Because I I know what like a startup and beginning is. It requires a lot of hours, but Watson was very supportive.
I appreciate that because I was just trying to understand how to navigate a full-time job and doing my business at the same time. So thank you so much.
Anna, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, it's also very similar to Shantae. I would say that BMO Watson was very they did so much communication in terms if you did miss a time. And I did notice that especially with our cohort, just as Shantae was saying, life is happening. So some people were not able to make it. But what I would say is that for me, when I missed a few sessions, I communicated and that's all pretty much you want to do. And then also I was gonna add one more thing to that, but I think yeah, just go for it and apply and yeah, definitely see if you're able to participate with the schedule amount that they have for those few months and it's definitely worth it. But yeah, I saw a lot of flexibility that was possible as long as there was communication.
Yes, thank you both so much. Shout out to our programs managers. As long as you keep them updated, we ultimately, they ultimately try to meet you where you're at whenever you do need it. So thank you both. That was great. That was great. Next up, we have Jay. Go for it. Oh, I might have
Wait,
lost Jay.
can you all hear me?
Yes.
All right, good afternoon, good morning to some of you all, depending on the area we are in. But I think this sounds like a great program. I am curious to know, there are a lot of fellowship programs that happen, and sometimes what I see is like um everything does go well within the program, but then like the aftermath or like the aftercare of what happens after the program, kind of like sometimes the support may drop off, or and of course I know it's contingent upon how much time and effort you put into the program yourself, but I'm curious to know, how does Watson or this program specifically separate itself from other fellowships in terms of comprehensive like wraparound and support and services to most benefit the entrepreneur or the business owner.
And just to make sure I understood
I
your
think that's a
question.
great question.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Shantae. I was gonna let you go. I just
Oh,
wanted
you
to get an understanding. Post fellowship or during the fellow? You mean post?
Post, yes.
Okay, something I will say, and I'll let you take over it, Shantae, in a second. And Jordan, I know you've been working on the alumni strategy, so if there's anything you want to add, we are, we have our alumni network, we have a LinkedIn group, when there are moments that we can get alumni involved, such as today, ultimately, once you're in the Watson Institute network, we don't plan on letting you go at any point. So if there's any sort of involvement, any sort of support, I think, it really goes back to that communication component. If there's something you're curious about, if at some point you'd like to be connected with someone, if maybe there's a mentorship opportunity for someone that you'd like to like provide. Ultimately, we do have our alumni group, and I'm actually going to pass it to Jordan in a second. But then outside of the existing structure of alumni support, we also are open to just, shoot us an email if there's something that you have a question about, or if there's something that we can ultimately just do. We will do our best to meet you there. But I'll let Jordan talk a little bit alumni, and then Shantae, I'll pass it over to you.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Shantae. Hi, Anna. They were both in
got
my
you.
cohort when I was their program manager. Nice to see you. I was so excited to hear your voices. Yeah, so a few things about alumni. So quarterly, we have alumni networking events. So every July and January, we do just a general networking where alumni get together, talk. Usually, we have quite a few people in that room, and it's just an exciting place to talk to people who really get it, who are in it with you, who want to talk about entrepreneurship, the wins, the highs, the lows, whatever. And then we also have some impact series that we do quarterly or throughout. And then we also just started a series where we have alumni do Skillshare sessions. And so those are really exciting series that we're also doing quarterly. So they're kind of like woven into those every 4 months. So usually January and July is just a general networking. And then in between those quarterly and I don't know, what is it, April and October, we try to do like an impact series or a Skillshare session where alumni, you yourself could eventually present. And you basically just help share a skill, something that you know about, anything that might help the group. Some other stuff that we do is we have an alumni ambassador group. The alumni ambassadors basically represent one of their own programs, and they come and they do panels like this. They do panels whenever we first start the program. They sometimes host a gray block. So there's opportunities if you're looking to kind of start speaking or getting into guest speaking or impact series type of work. You know, it's a great way to get an opportunity as an alum to come guest speak or host a gray block for us. And for just so you know, gray blocks are what we call certain sessions that don't have a preceptor led session. So yeah, just we try to do what we can. We'd love to hear suggestions too with the alumni. We would love to keep everyone more active and engaged. We also have an ongoing mentoring plan. So if anybody is when you become an alum, you can fill out a form and say, like, here's what I'm good at, and here's what I can mentor in. And then we can always hook up our current fellows with alum and stuff like that. So, yes,
And
those are some of the
if I
opportunities.
can piggyback off this real quick, Maria, Jordan, hey girl, this is great. Shantae, Anna, Karina, it's so good to see y'all. But I just want to piggyback off that because not only is this like an alumni, opportunity to be in on sessions like this, but our strategic partnership team also brings in individuals and alumni who can come in and actually, have engagements in front of partners or go to events. I know we have something coming up right this summer that's happening, and because we have tickets for an event, they identify alumni who maybe are in that network, and so they provide them with like a $2,000 ticket to go to this really incredible event. I forgot where it was, but somewhere. I don't know if any of you know.
Atlanta.
Yeah. Atlanta. Thank you, Jordan. And so like there are opportunities that continue even post fellowship to do these type of things. I will also say in events which we run within our organization, we have in-person summits that happen, and we also are always looking for alumni to come in as keynote speakers. And so sometimes we're bringing in alumni to engage even within different fellowships as these keynote speakers, just pending their involvement within that program. So we're constantly looking at ways to like, I love what you say, Jay, about like closing that circle, like continuing that it doesn't just drop off. Being a part of Watson Institute for 3 years, I can't tell you, I mean, we have a job opening for, through Watson this fall, and I have alumni reach out and be like, Mary, I'm, referring this person, or hey, Mary, like I'm applying for this job, or, so like we're constantly in communication with people who have gone through programs, and it's a really vast network, and it's only getting bigger. I mean, in a really cool way.
Thank you both so much. That was great. And then I'll let Shantae finish off before we move on to our next question, or yeah, go for it. You're on mute? Yeah, you're on mute. Let me see. No, you got it. You got it. All good. You muted
There we
yourself.
go.
Okay, now we're good.
Thank you for that. It's like my phone was like, "You're on mute." I'm going to say one of the things that I experienced personally was during my time at the fellowship, there were lots of other partners of the fellowship that I got to meet. Potential. They were all over, and I stayed in contact. I stayed in contact, and particularly with the BMO. It's a certain name for them, but they're housed in Los Angeles, and they do a lot of funding, and they have connections to all sorts of things. And so when I left BMO, I actually emailed them and I shared with them what I was doing when I was looking for a lawyer. I was like, hey, are there some lawyer services that you guys can recommend? And they shot me the information. Then I said, hey, I just won this grant. I want to open up a BMO bank because I want to do this program. Where can I go? They sent me where I needed to go. So now in Culver City, I have another BMO bank account for like when I have grants and I want to put my money into a different account versus what I have. So a lot of the services through that network was still open and still available. I still talk to, a few of the alumni also through emails. So it is definitely what you put in, but that network that you obtain when you're in the fellowship never ever really goes away. So I've been in fellowships where things have dropped off. BMO was not like that at all. And I think just personally that was really important to me, that the connections I was making through each week, that I got to keep those connections and I could email those connections when I needed them. So that was really helpful for me.
Thank you all so much. Great question, Jay. I hope we all answered it a little bit in our own way, but no, that was great feedback. And I'm so happy, you have the alumni perspective, the search perspective, the programs perspective to answer that. I see you, Hasina. Give me 1 second. We're just receiving some questions in the chat that I'd like to clarify. Someone asked if, whether you're for-profit, nonprofit, can you apply? It is open to all. Ultimately, what it boils down to is, are you creating impact in the impact spaces that we're looking for? And are you in the right stage to benefit from the programming and actively apply what it is that you're learning to ultimately scale sustainably? And then I believe we receive another one. Jamie started a coaching business, not registered or nonprofit, but you've received paid speakings. Ultimately, again, we're not really looking at what's been checked off. We're again looking at progress. We're looking at what you've accomplished. Are you up and running? Again, would the programming benefit you where you're at right now and what you've accomplished? So if you're not registered or you're still a little bit there, I still encourage you to apply. That's not something that we're really looking for. Again, it's more about the progress that you've made and whether the programming will benefit you. And if anyone has any, yes, and then I'm seeing if anyone has any other questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. But in the meantime, I will pass it over to Hasina.
Yeah. All right. Hi, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. Okay, perfect. Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. I have a two-part question. Maria, in the beginning, you mentioned that you guys are looking for highly promising businesses or entrepreneurs. The first part of the question is, can you tell me what defines that for you? What does that look like for you? And the second part is, would you all consider the health and wellness space like yoga, meditation, mindfulness to be an emerging market specifically for people of color?
Okay, just taking some notes because I don't want to forget either part of your question. Thank you so much. When we're thinking about high impact driven entrepreneurs promising, ultimately what we're getting at is, are you passionate about the work that you're doing and are you driven by your why? When we're looking at program fit, that's something that we're very conscious about. And when we're doing interviews, we really are seeing, is this something that you ultimately feel so passionate about that maybe you want to take it full time, that you actually, are not only participating in the fellowship, but ultimately want to participate in the fellowship to continue taking this off. So, it does sound very general, and I'm actually glad that you asked this, and I hope this is answering your question. But, it comes down to, how passionate are you about creating impact? How much does this venture really drive you to ultimately take it to the full fruition? And then the other part of it, I think you asked about yoga, meditation. As a personal yogi myself, I cannot express enough just how important it is. And I think, mental health, Anna was talking about it earlier today. Anything that sort of falls under the umbrella is so important. Not only should we be passionate about work and be pouring into those cups, but we also need to be pouring into our own cups. And I think that's something that Watson is great about. And that's why we say, like, if there's something bothering you, if you're feeling stressed out, the last thing we want to do is for this to be a point of stress when already entrepreneurs are already so, so many to-dos and so many things to be thinking about. So, yes, 100%. The only thing I'll say is, just because it might not be a fellowship focus does not mean that Watson Institute does not value the importance of, yoga, meditation, and mental health. It might just be that, through that, are you somehow building economic resilience? Are you somehow tying it back to what BMO is doing? And outside of that, and I will say, if anyone here is maybe outside the impact locations, maybe feels that their venture doesn't necessarily align, we have several other opportunities. If you're ever doubting it and feeling that maybe this is the right fit, send in the application. Let us kind of take it in and we'll do, that assessment for you. But yeah, I hope I answered your questions. I know it was a two-parter, so let me know. Yeah? Okay, great. Thank you so much. Okay, let's pass it on to Veronica.
Hi, thank you so much for the time today and overview. This is very helpful and really excited about the program. One question for Shantae and Anna is there, in hindsight, kind of going into the program, are there any things that you would do to prepare knowing more about the program aspects or the things now that will help, that could help a incoming candidate take full advantage of the programming?
I could share. I think it has a lot to do with the time commitment. So I knew how much time it was going to be, and we were running a business. I had to be much more organized because I wasn't used to being so away from like our day-to-day operations. So I would say going into the program, just make sure if obviously if it's your personal life or you're running your venture, your company, just make sure you have things in order because I didn't personally do that. And so the first like month, it really threw me off. And so yeah, I would just say make sure that your time is much more organized than what I was because yeah, I was super stressed out.
I'll add to
But
that too.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It was, like it's high, it's high, intense, and engaging at moments. So you also have to come prepared and ready to give and to listen at the same time. I'm going to share that. But time is definitely that. And organization, I love, um, being organized and all those things, but it brought my awareness to another level when it comes to time and sometimes because you have a lot on your brain you will forget, so using tools to help you, it definitely helped you ultimately, which will help your business in the same breath. And I also wanted to share something about the question before. It's whether it's for profit or nonprofit. I'm actually a nonprofit who built a social enterprise which is for profit but supports the nonprofit, so it just depends on your business also.
Awesome. That was a great note too. Veronica, we're good with your question? You disappear. Okay, good. Seeing you. Awesome. And then give me 1 second, Kambu. I'm just going to answer some questions in the chat. So we received another one from Jay. Does the programming and curriculum, is it tailored to one-on-one business or more generalized info? The sessions are given in a cohort setting. However, there are several mentorship opportunities, whether it's in group settings and one-on-ones. There's also office hours if you need to schedule some times with program managers. And like I said, if there's anything outside of the structure, anything outside of what's provided, communicate that to your program manager. That's the best advice I can give you guys. And then as for how did the fellowships pitch training and direct connection to BMO's ecosystem, change your approach to securing external grants or enterprise partnerships once the program ended? Shantae, Anna, does anybody want to share some insight here?
Yeah. What you learned, apply it. Take notes in your fellowship. There is no, I'm going to share this. Before I even started with BMO, my foundation was already, in its stage for 5 years. And there is no, when it comes to funding, people want like this algorithm or this formula. There is no formula, there is no algorithm. It is what you hear, what you were listening to, what you experience. You take notes, you save it, you put it in the vault, and you apply it, and you continue to ask questions. Because I continued to apply. I ended up applying to CDFA, which is the California Department of Food and Agriculture. That's how I actually won a grant. But it does come with capacity. You have to have support and people who can also support you in helping to find things. As far as the network, you have to take the initiative no matter what it is you do. And even when you're given the keys, you have to use the right doors to open them. So I'm going to share that everything that you learn, everything that you hear, everything that you experience, you will need it and you will have to apply it at some point. But you want to have those notes ready and those emails handy because, again, like I shared from the beginning, you may feel like you're going through it alone or that it's very, very challenging, but you actually do have a support system out there. And that was one of the greatest feelings that I had every single time I got into my Watson Fellowship with my group, is that I had real fellowship and camaraderie, because none of this is easy. There is no right answer. There is no formula. You have to take the initiative, but you also have to apply it. That saying of you can lead a horse to the water or the cow to the water or the camel, but you can't make them drink. It's that same antidote. It is, you have to apply it. And I think for me, that's what helped me, win these grants, helped me apply them, and then helped me use the resources that were available to me during the fellowship.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Anna, is there anything you'd like to add? If not, if Kambua is still with us, I can go ahead
Yeah,
and
I do want to add something. And sorry, I did want to go a question back. Was about the one-on-one business, or is it more generalized
uh,
information? The way that this is set up, it's really good because you do go over like the topics and you do break out into sessions, which is really good because going to Shantae's point, that camaraderie, I can't say that word, but like really just that group session, you're able to work with others, but then also you're able to ask more questions once you come back. And so even though you are in at times group sessions, you are also able to do them one-on-one. And a lot of the facilitators, they're super supportive. And so just going back to like Shantae saying, it's what you put into it. So if you really get engaged, you're really active in like whatever you're focusing on, you will get feedback, and that one-on-one personalized support is there. So I would say that. And then the other part too right now, once again, like the network that you gain here is very good. And so, for example, sometimes it can be so indirect. When you do the last sessions, the one where you focus on like whether you're doing like the education or some type of event in your city or community, whatever you're focusing on, uh, through that event that I had through the Watson Institute, it opened doors for me to gain even other mentors indirectly. So when we were promoting this for the construction community here in Fresno, a few other people had heard of it from local banks. And so eventually they did in another event give us a sponsorship to have another event. A very small contribution, but you just never know how one door can open to another. And I never thought something like that would happen. But yeah, it's like what you put into it, like your mindset, and then obviously how engaged you are. You definitely will get like an investment back into your vision, your venture, your company, whatever you're working on.
thank you so much. Such insightful answers. Thank you both. And I know we're coming up on time. If anyone needs to hop off, totally get it. I would like to get to one more question from Marcus. Says you started a real estate investing LLC long term. It sounds like you're right up the alley. I would definitely encourage you to apply and just make sure that that connection to how you connect to the fellowship and its goals is clearly stated in the application. And then Kambua, I know you came back. Do you want to ask your question or are we good?
Yeah. So, hello everyone. It's really inspiring to listen to your experience within the BMO and Watson Institute. So, Shantae, my question was for you. I thought I heard that you said you were already had a business prior to your current passion that you're working on right now. So, my question for you is: At what stage did you start um, working fully on your new venture? Were you already part of the Watson Institute, or was it like an idea that you developed while you were at the Institute? I'm just curious to see where that transition of you being a business owner somewhere else and then building this incredible venture that you're on right now.
Hi, thanks so much for the question. So I was founded in 2019. Funny enough, when I founded my nonprofit, I was working for someone. And I told myself when summer hits, I'm going to go full time. That was in September. COVID hit literally like 2 months later. And so I ended up going to full time much quicker because everyone like myself, we didn't have jobs. Like our jobs were like letting us off. They were letting us go. So God kind of answered my question pretty quick. He said, you're not going to wait till summer. You're about to start this in 2 months. So in 2019, I started my foundation, which is the Niles Foundation. And about 3 years later, which was in 2023, but I wrote the program in 2021 is when I created the Halo Food Project. And in 2021, when I wrote the Halo Food Project, it got funded by USDA in 2023. And funny enough, I had already been operating before I got to BMO. So I started as a nonprofit, built a social enterprise, and then met BMO along the way.
Awesome. Thank you so much. What a journey. And thank you so much for your question, Kambua. Okay, we're officially 3 minutes over time, so I am going to start wrapping up. Sandra, if you could go to the next slide, you will be able to see my email. If any questions come up as you're deciding whether to go through with this, you're curious about anything, please don't hesitate to reach out. You've seen me, you've seen the team. We are more than happy to answer your questions and help you assess whether this might be the right fit for you. But other than that, I just want to thank everybody for joining. Thank you to the Watson Institute team who shared their insights, and a big shout out to Anna and Shante, who, I can tell you about the program, but their insights and their experiences as entrepreneurs are invaluable. So I just want to give everyone a shout out and just thank you all so much. And like I said, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. But it's been a pleasure to host the BMO panel with you all today.